Hello and welcome to the morning after show. My name is Joshua Reimer. I'm joined by none other than Jared Block, who is on my right. We are back after an action-packed weekend. NFL on Saturday, NFL on Sunday, the return of Klay Thompson, you name it, we had it this weekend, and it was a good weekend for the Roto Radar crew. I know NBA content went 3-1. Jared, I know we smashed on Saturday on NFL. Sunday, not necessarily going as planned, but I know your single game slate stuff did really well last night, and we had a lot of exciting NFL games to talk about. So I couldn't be more excited to talk about NFL. Obviously, we have the College Football Championship today. That's going to be a lot of fun to cover. It's going to be a good day of sports.
Yeah, man, really, really excited. This weekend was a blur. Lots of football on Saturday. I think that's what does it for me. I
Yeah.
always think that, usually I can kind of breathe easy through Saturday a little bit, but I won't be able to at least until February now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be one of those months, but we had a lot of exciting stuff happening. Yeah, I'm pumped for how the playoff picture stood out. A lot of teams that I didn't think would make it are now in. We'll talk about those here in a little bit. But let's start with last night because I tried so hard to stay awake, and I did. But I was
Nice.
falling asleep heavy through the last part of that game, so I'm glad that I stayed awake for it. But yeah, it was a wild one.
Dude, don't worry. I was the same exact way last night. I was like, I got to stick it out. I got to watch this whole game. It's going to be a really fun one. I cannot fall asleep. And let's just say Mex had to wake me up a few times while we were on the couch and I was still watching the game. All right. Want to talk to the chat. Kai, what's up? He says, what's up, fellas? G Jerry01 says, yo, what's going on? All right, let's talk about this NFL playoff picture, and let's start off with that game that we were just mentioning, the Chargers and the Raiders. So I think the most interesting thing to start off this game, before we even talk about what went on during the game, is just the fact that, with how everything played out, the scenario worked out perfectly where if they ended up tying, if you saw both teams just take a knee for the whole entire game, both of those teams would have made the playoffs. They could have made an agreement before the game to make the playoffs. Now, I mean, obviously the integrity of the game probably wouldn't allow it, but I just thought that was a super interesting scenario to where if both of those teams tied, and we almost had that play out, they both could have made the playoffs.
Yeah, I would have. It's something that you kind of just laugh at, but I'm sure people would be absolutely furious.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I thought it'd be cool. People slept on that game last night. I heard
Crazy.
several people say that they, wanted to just call it a day and move on to the next one, and just wait for the playoffs to come up. I'm like, no, dude. I mean, like, this
Yeah.
game is going to be electric. Whenever you have a team like the Chargers, who are as up in pace as they are, with the Raiders, neither team can play defense, and you saw that last night. Crazy high total. The total was on the highest on the board in the first place. It was a 50-point total coming into the week, which was higher than Arizona and Seattle. So I kind of thought that fireworks would happen, and we weren't disappointed. Uh, it was probably the best case scenario for the NFL in general. Like that, they
Yeah.
they really looked out on that one because it could have been an absolute snooze fest.
Yeah, they were it definitely was an interesting game for sure. And like you said, best case scenario. And I mean, the back and forth was really fun to watch, right? Because we saw the Raiders take an early lead. They went up 10-0. Then we saw the Chargers storm back and they were up 14-10. Then we saw the Raiders get back to being up 29-14 at one point in the fourth
Yep.
quarter. Just for the Chargers to come back at the end of the fourth quarter with zero time left on the clock. They end up scoring a touchdown and getting the 2-point conversion to end up
Yep.
forcing it to OT. It was a really fun game. It was a good time to watch, and both of those teams played their hearts out. I was excited to see this Chargers team in the playoffs, though, and it's kind of sad that we don't get them there.
Me too. And I wanted to see both the Chargers and possibly the Colts, but again, we'll talk about the Colts and that dumpster fire. But Chargers, I thought that they deserved it, but they did have a few losses that really shouldn't have happened to them throughout the year. I think Brandon Staley's tendencies and decisions were part of the reason they didn't make it. But at the end of the day, I mean, the game is kind of gearing towards that direction. So you can always say, if his plays would have worked, you would have praised him. But if they don't, then he obviously gets crucified for that. So I don't know. I think Justin Herbert's here to stay. I think that he again, I gotta stick back. Like I have to support him because I'm backing him pretty hard right now. So I think that he is here to stay. I think that this team can make a difference, and Austin Eckler still doesn't get the credit that he deserves as one of the top. I think he's the top five back in the league.
You said Austin Eckler top five back in the league. I can agree with that at the end of the day. Talk about the Brandon Staley timeout because I mean this was the talk of the town right after this game ended. Right, you had Derek Carr come out and say this timeout really changed everything for the team in this offensive drive. Saw a lot of people scratching their head wondering why it happened. What do you think of the timeout personally?
Again, it's one of those things where I personally was scratching my head as well,
Yeah,
but I sort of can understand why he did it. But I don't know. I mean, coaches make weird decisions in the moment sometimes,
yeah,
and maybe they had a reason for it. Maybe there's something that we never would have thought had, like maybe him and I don't know. Maybe they just weren't. Somebody wasn't on the right page with somebody else. Like it's could be as simple as that. And obviously, you take that risk if that's the gamble you want to take.
yeah, for sure. Definitely a very good game. Anything else you want to touch on for that game? And if oh, I want to talk about this bet online thing. I did not see this sportsbook little tidbit that you added.
Yeah. Yep. So it's Bet Online and basically any sports book in the world was it was the heaviest betted tie prop ever recorded
Wow.
in like sportsbook whenever like I don't know the last whenever online sports books were like, starting to come out. So
Yeah.
that combined with Vegas, it's apparently a multi-billion-dollar swing that could have happened against the books if that game would have tied, which was very close,
Yeah.
actually. You could have seen a lot of books actually go out of business last night from paying that out. So um,
What were the odds on
obviously,
that?
I don't know. I didn't see, but I'm gonna guess that it was a plus a couple hundred at least at the
Yeah.
very minimum. Usually it's like plus 5,000 is what it
Yeah.
usually is. Maybe 10,000.
Yeah, because I was about to
I
say if
would
it was plus 10,000, you're right. There would have been a lot of sportsbook that went
yeah,
out of business last night.
right. And I don't think it was that high just given the amount of people that were betting on it. But people it was a narrative thing throughout the whole day. And it started with the Colts losing, which was the only real scenario that could have happened with. So yeah, man, like what a I don't even I'm kind of at a loss for words actually because the non-viable carbon says the book's called the timeout on the Chargers.
I was about to
Yeah,
say
I
that
mean,
the best
uh,
comment so far is that one right there.
yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, you can definitely make a case for that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So the reason that one of the many reasons that I lost yesterday was on the main slate was due to Jonathan Taylor not getting touches, Carson Wentz making terrible decisions, and them just not. They haven't won in Jacksonville in 7 straight years. I think it's 8. Um, I don't know. That's probably the craziest stat of all of them. But I backed Jonathan Taylor pretty hard yesterday, and he got stuffed at the one to just cap off that time. And then as soon as that happened, I was like, nah, we're done for the day.
Yeah.
It's pretty much over. You can't really come back from that. So yeah, what do you think about the Colts? What do they do with Wentz? Because now they're stuck in this position, and I'm sure that Kai's happy because his team made the playoffs, and two, the guy that they traded away did not make the playoffs, which would further incentivize their draft picks.
Yeah, for anyone looking for a quick laugh, I just posted the TikTok that I showed Jared this morning. I don't know, Jared, if you got a chance to watch it, but it's all about Carson Wentz and just how bad he is, and it was really funny to me. But yeah, I really don't know what you do with this team now. Like you had a pretty, I don't know. What do you think of this season overall? What's their final record was 9-8, right? So like almost 500. You went out, you got Carson Wentz, you got your guy. You were supposed to have an elite defense. You have Jonathan Taylor. You have one of the best O lines in the league, and you have a day or of a year like this. Like, I don't know where you go from here to really advance the team overall. Like, you can improve the secondary all you want, but it just goes back to the point that Carson Wentz not really an elite quarterback at any point.
No, and he's never really had to be, and
Yeah,
that's honestly where that team's ceiling is kind of capped as well. But they were in a lot of very, very competitive games throughout the course of the season, and they were able to take care of business. Like this team was neck and neck with the Bucks. They lost 2 overtime games to the Ravens and the Titans. They lost both their games to the Titans. They lost by 3 to the Rams early in the year, and they beat the Cardinals a couple weeks ago. They actually beat the Patriots as well, right before Christmas. So, like they were winning games that they shouldn't have won, but they also lost 2 games at the end of the year that they shouldn't have lost to. They were up again on the Raiders for the majority of that game 2 weeks ago, and they blew that. And then that was because of Carson Wentz mistakes. And then yesterday was just a weird one. I don't really like. That was what I thought the Patriots Miami game was supposed to be, which I guess kind of got a similar result in that one throughout. But I don't know. Both of those teams ended up losing those games. It felt really strange to just watch that. It was painful to watch. You didn't really recognize what the team was anymore, and that's kind of what makes or breaks teams. Like they have to have some sort of identity, and it just didn't seem like the Colts knew what to do when they were down in games. They can play in shootouts, but whenever they get down by 10 to 14 points or more, they start to unravel, and they have to rely on Carson Wentz. And remember, like as much as Pittman is awesome, and I respect him, and I think he's great, uh, they become very one-dimensional, and they can't use Jonathan Taylor the way they want to. And they basically, like, I didn't think that Taylor had any chance of winning MVP, but yesterday kind of just foiled that anyway. And they didn't. At the end of the day, somebody's going to get. I don't think that Frank Reich gets fired or anything like that, but somebody's getting punished for not utilizing your best player in a must-win scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the end of the day, you give Jonathan Taylor touches. Like we talked about this early. Like we said that you give Taylor as many touches as you can possibly give him in the first half, and you rest the second half, and this game becomes really easy. But you don't do that, and things kind of crumble. It is crazy to see what this Colts team has done. Like you consider the fact that they've gone out there, they've beat the Patriots, they've beat the Cardinals, they've beat the Bills, they've beat so many good teams. They almost ended up winning against the Titans earlier this year, except for that Carson Wentz fail
Yep.
throw. They
Uh,
came close to beating the Ravens. They've had so many good wins. This should have been a playoff team and would have been a dangerous wild card team. And now it's now they're not. Now they're out of the playoffs.
exactly. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that
Yeah.
than what do you do? Because unfortunately, they were on Hard Knocks in season, and they were talking about how the team believes in Carson, but they also think that Jonathan Taylor's their best asset, and like that burned them pretty hard not going back to him. Like even if you're down, like there was a spot where they were still within range of winning. They were down by like 10 to 12 points in the middle of the third quarter, and that's when the
Hmm.
Jonathan Taylor stuff happened at the 1 yard line. Um, so I give them credit for running that play because that's what I would do. You run the play with your best player. But I just feel like they completely imploded after that, and you'd think that their defense would step up here, but they a pretty epic collapse from the Colts on both sides of the ball throughout the last 2 weeks.
I had one of my buddies. He's a big NFL bettor. He really likes to place NFL bets, and he said he was super confident in the Jaguars spread. And I was like, no way the Jaguars end up covering. There's no possible chance. And then they went outright, so I look like the fool. But anyway, that Colts game was definitely interesting to see. I think I don't know. A lot of people will say the Chargers and Raiders was the best game of the weekend. Personally, for me, as you can see by my Niners hat, I think that Niners game was the best game of the weekend. I will not kid you when I say I was screaming at my television for the whole second half, essentially. It was back and forth. It was probably one of the best games of the year. I really enjoyed the Niners end up getting that W against the Rams. I thought that was a great performance from the 49ers. The Rams look good, man. The Rams, I mean, like, they led two really long drives to start off the game. I think it almost looked like it reversed. Like, it looked like the Rams were doing what the Niners were doing in that first game when they faced off against each other. But Niners end up coming back, and it was a big game for them for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. This is one of 3 overtime games that we had, which is crazy for a Week 18, especially
Yeah,
when all 3 of those games had playoff implications too.
yeah.
So yeah,
We
I
were
mean it was
spoiled.
great. the NFL, we were all spoiled this weekend, guys. And just don't forget that when you see some teams getting blown out in a couple days.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Niners come in here. They won the first game handedly at home. Um, from what I gathered, and I turned on this game in the second half because I wanted to see why it was 17-3 at halftime.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty demoralizing thing to go into, but obviously it turned around the other way, and that's probably your biggest comeback win of the year, if not over the past couple of years. Um,
Second biggest comeback win of the whole entire season.
okay. All right. So, yeah, I mean, that was fantastic. What I gathered mostly, and that's why I thought that this would turn in your direction in the second half, was that from what I gathered in the first half and from the beginning of the third quarter, almost the entire stadium was 49ers fans,
Oh yeah.
or at least you could hear it. And that's one thing that the LA Rams and LA Chargers are never going to have is this home field advantage. They're just not
Yeah.
going to have it at SoFi. It's just not going to be a thing. So Niners travel well. They're probably the most liked team in California. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think that I think I'm pretty close unless you think that the Raiders are probably more popular. Um, but yeah, I think the Niners fan base showed out. I think that's what really helped them. And once they got in a groove and were able to do things, they really got the job done. And when you look at the box score and you look at this game and you're like, okay, all the studs for the Niners did nothing. Um, outside of Samuel, but he was, in and out late at the end of the game, kind of hobbled there. Yeah, I mean, you'd think that they would lose, but
Yeah.
Jawan Jennings is the fourth quarter guy and the
Dude,
overtime guy. Like I can't even like I don't know what to say. I have nothing to add there.
who called it? I mean, like, I really don't mean to toot my own horn here, but who the hell called the Jawan Jennings thing? I'm pretty sure closer to the beginning of this year. I talked about really liking Jawan Jennings, how we picked him up in the sixth round, how he was this really good guy out of Tennessee who was just a huge wide receiver, and he really did his thing. He is. Uh, they were talking to Shanahan before the game, and Mohamed Sanu is on the IR right now, and he's healthy enough to come back. But Shanahan said, like, I cannot sit Jawan Jennings. And obviously, at the end of the day, that's the right call because Jennings was a true superstar. Life of Goosey saying that. I've been calling Jennings all season. I truly have. I've been on that Jennings train. So it was really good to see him step it up to a new level. And Jimmy G really making his case to try to, I'm not going to say save his job. He's most likely out of 49ers uniform at the end of the year, but he's definitely making his case to be a very valuable trade asset at the end of the day.
Yeah, you think that the Colts trade him to
Ooh,
Indianapolis or to yeah. I don't think that you guys get Carson Wentz.
no.
I think that yeah, I mean Jimmy G would make a lot of sense in
Trade Jimmy for
Indianapolis.
DeForest Buckner. Get Buckner back on the Niners. That would be scary, especially with how that D line played last night. That would be scary to put Buckner back on this team.
Yeah, I agree. They look pretty good in stopping the run yesterday. When the Rams can't run, things are definitely harder for them. They become a lot more one-dimensional. Obviously, Cooper Kupp was a beast in the fourth quarter. You
Yeah,
can't really do much about that. Just be happy that you stopped them for doing anything worse.
yeah,
So, I mean, they basically just filtered it to Tyler Higbee, which worked out for them in the first half. But Stafford, again, making mistakes, man. 2 interceptions in this game. I know that they were probably not like the icer or the sealer, but the sealer was definitely them having poor defense in the second half. That's kind of what did them in there. But um, Robbie Gould, clutch as ever. I don't have much to say about this game other than the fact that we'll talk about what the wild card matchups are. Uh, I think that honestly, you might have lucked out a little bit.
I don't know if you read my conversation in the NFL chat. I feel like we might have one of the, I'm not going to say easiest. It's definitely tough ever to get to the Super Bowl. But out of any wildcard team in the NFL right now, I feel like we have the best chance to make it to the Super Bowl with our current route through the playoffs. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. I do want to touch on Stafford really quickly because I really do think Stafford ends up losing this game for the Rams at the end of the day with that pick that he threw in overtime. He just completely underthrows Odell Beckham, which I mean Odell had, I think it was who? Oh, it was the rookie.
Rookie, yeah.
Ambry Thomas, I think is his name. He Odell had Ambry Thomas beat by like 3 or 4 yards. If Stafford throws that ball the right way, he ends up getting an easy touchdown and they end up winning the game. We have now seen Stafford have 10 turnovers in the past 4 weeks. How confident are you in this Rams team at the end of the day?
Well, I've been watching their slow collapse over the last month and loving every second of it because
Yeah.
this is again not to. I'm not going to bring basketball into this, so I won't do that. But it's like you can't. Money doesn't buy you everything in the
Yep.
NFL specifically. It can in other sports, and it does, and people take advantage of that. But like football doesn't buy you everything here, and I don't care how many all stars or studs you have on the board. If you don't have chemistry and if you make poor decisions throughout, you can. I don't. I know that this wasn't a do or die for the Rams, and maybe that's why some other. I don't know. You can't. I don't. I think that McVay is going to coach the same way regardless. So I'm not going to say that they didn't care enough, but I think that these turnovers are really going to hurt them, and I truly think that the Rams could be a first round exit.
I would tend to agree with that. New best comment of the stream comes from Life of Goosty. You can take Stafford out of Detroit, but you can't take Detroit out of Stafford necessarily. This game also ruined the streak for McVay. You bringing up him
Yep.
reminded me.
Yep.
McVay was 44-0 when leading at halftime in a game, and now he's 44-1. It was an incredible little stretch for him, but that's a mind blowing stat. I've known about this stat for the past 3 years, and I usually try to hammer the Rams in the second half when they're up. But I don't know what like. That's just really sad to see that streak come to an end.
No, it's not. It's
Oh,
fine.
okay, all right. I didn't know I didn't know Jared was such a Rams hater, but I guess he is.
Yeah.
All right, let's lay out the schedule for Wild Card Weekend because it's going to be a blast. I have the NFL playoff picture up here in front of me. Don't know if I have the standings though, so let me see if or not the standings, the schedule.
Oh,
Uh,
I do.
all right, sweet. So give us a schedule and maybe we can give some picks here.
Okay, so the AFC will be playing on Saturday.
Uh huh.
So AFC only on Saturday. It will be the early game at 4:30. Number five seed Las Vegas Raiders, and the number 4 seed Cincinnati Bengals. That will be on NBC. And then we have a night game, so 2 games on Saturday. The night game is number 6 seed New England Patriots at the number 3 Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of these games are going to be thrillers. I think the Bengals game has a real chance of being a shootout and could be a lot of fun. Hopefully, Bengals are fully healthy. Like, we should have Joe Burrow back for this game, right? And everyone should be
Oh
good to
yeah,
go.
yeah. Burrow's sat because of the Mixon thing and because he hurt his knee in the Chiefs game, but he should be fine. And then as far as the Mixon thing goes, like thankfully he got COVID in a week where he didn't have to play.
Yeah.
But they have to be very careful. All these teams have to be very careful now because I mean maybe we'll see the NFL kind of slip by in some of these rules and stuff, but like uh, yeah, I mean, this would be a terrible spot for the Bengals to have that finally happen to them. They were pretty healthy throughout the entire year, so
Well,
yeah, I mean that's really all we've needed. We've just needed Joe Mixon and Joe Burrow to get through the season, and they did that this year finally. So I like them a lot. I think that Raiders will obviously come in as underdogs. I'll just give you the spread stuff now because
yeah.
I have it up in front of me. The Bengals right now are getting 6 points at home. And obviously, this game's outside. Weather it's going to be terrible weather for all these teams.
Yeah.
Bengals -6, total 49.5. Bills are -4.5 at home. Game total's 43. Obviously, I think both games can be close. The Raiders are a team that just never goes away. Like either they get destroyed in games that they shouldn't be playing terribly in, like they will lose to the Giants or something, or they will be in all of these games. And I think that the Raiders will be in this game. Just depends on what they do and how healthy Darren Waller is because he played last night. Wasn't really an impact player.
Yeah, no, we knew he was going to come back. We knew he's been out for quite some time, and you're right, he wasn't an impact player. So maybe they used him more as a decoy last night. Maybe you see him come out and be a lot better this week. I don't want to look ahead too much, but I do want to talk a little bit more about this playoff picture because you have Chiefs and Steelers, right? And you have Bills and Patriots, and you have Bengals and Raiders. If you see all the favorites winning here, you see Bengals, Bills, and Chiefs win, then Bengals end up getting the Titans in the next round.
Mhm.
I know you have been on record saying this Titans team might be one of the most fraudulent teams in the NFL right now, or one of the most fraudulent one seeds in the NFL. That matchup would be really enticing to see. Bengals versus Titans. I'd be very intrigued to see that one.
Yeah, I think that would be a more fun game to watch than Buffalo and Kansas City because we've already seen that game before.
Yeah.
Even though it would be, I think that those two teams face off against each other the next like 5 years. But um, yeah, no, Bengals and Titans. I think that the Bengals have a really good shot to make it somewhere. They got to get past the Raiders though, and that's going to be pesky. Like I could actually see the Raiders winning. There are scenarios where that will happen, but no, I think that I think that the Bengals actually have a really good shot to win, and I think that anybody has a shot to beat the Titans. Like again, I don't think that the Titans are going to be solid unless they get Derrick Henry back, which I think that they might
Yeah,
in
they
the next
definitely
week.
should. It's going to be interesting to see what he's at when he does come back. I know getting that bye is probably the best thing for that Titans team because you get another week to get Derrick Henry fully healthy, and you get a chance to get this team back with Henry and gameplay and everything. So definitely could be solid. Before we move on to the next matchup, let's just talk about this question posed by Kai in the chat: Is Carr the most underrated QB in the NFL today?
Sure.
I
I
can't think
mean,
of another guy that would be over him.
he's been sent through the ringer and doesn't get any credit at all. And Hunter Renfrow has a 100 reception season, and no one talks about that either.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that this Raiders team in general is the most underrated team in the NFL.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind that. All right. We kind of talked about Bills Patriots. Do you want to? Who did you say was favored in this one?
The Bills are favored by 4,
Okay,
so
so
4.5.
yeah, that makes sense to me. Uh, which I don't know what to ask here necessarily. Do you want to talk about this game at all? If not, let's talk a little bit about the Chiefs and Steelers. Then we can talk about the NFC.
This will be the third time that they'll play each other this year. Each road team has won, I believe,
Oh,
which
that's interesting.
I think so. I
Yeah,
might be
you'd be
wrong on
right
that.
because no, you're right. The wait, are you right on that? I'm really,
Well,
I
the
don't know.
Patriots beat the Bills in the win game.
Yes,
That
but
was in
where was
Buffalo.
the? Okay, so yeah, and the Patriots lost in New England. I remember
Yeah.
watching that game. So, uh, yeah, I mean, Patriots are the away team here. Obviously, you can't fade Bill Belichick in the playoffs, but I don't know. I think that the Bills could end up getting the job done here. All I know is it's going to be a really good game to watch for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those that I don't feel confident betting in, so I'll stay far away from. It's also probably like the worst game on the whole card in terms of DFS. Um, Never really liked to go against any of these defenses, but you know that Josh Allen will probably try to figure out how to do this by himself anyway. So I don't think you can play Devin Singletary anymore. I think that
No,
those days are
probably not.
over. Uh, and yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those games where I'm more interested in watching than I am trying to decipher it from a DFS perspective. But we'll get there towards the end of the week. I do think the Patriots could end up beating them, honestly. So,
Yeah,
I mean, you can't ever count them out, like you said, and they've been better on the road this year than at home.
yeah, for sure. Let's talk about this last game for the AFC: Chiefs and Steelers. Obviously, Steelers kind of coming in here hobbled. Do we know if Najee Harris is going to be good? I know he got injured yesterday. I
Yep.
didn't see anything after that because I didn't watch that game very much.
He came back in the game. It was a
Okay.
minor scare. I would assume that he doesn't practice like the majority of the week. I
Yeah.
don't really know what it ended up being. Like he got banged up throughout the entire game just because they needed to play him. But yeah, no, he should be fine. I'm more concerned about how good this defense is going to be against the Kansas City Chiefs because I was right yesterday. We talked about this, and I should have just listened to my gut. Pittsburgh Steelers defense is still good,
Yeah,
and
man.
they looked really good yesterday. I should have listened to my gut on that. For those wondering, I had the Pittsburgh Steelers defense like all week and then changed it at the last second. So, not fun, but you know, you learn from your mistakes here. And I think that Kansas City will be the most popular team on the slate for Sunday. but I don't know if it's as good of a spot as people think it is. Again, I don't ever like to go against Mike Tomlin in the playoffs either. It's just,
Yeah.
you're getting to the point where, like, I don't know, the Steelers deserve more than 13 points here. Like, come
Yeah.
on.
Wow, it's 13 points. I didn't hear you say the spread here.
No, I didn't, but I just looked.
That's ridiculous, I think. I think giving Tomlin 13 points is a little insane at the end of the day. So, I don't know. If I'm at least early on in the week, if I'm looking at that, give me Steelers plus 13 for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this NFC side because I think the NFC side is just as equally interesting overall. I'm curious to hear some of these odds. So let's get to it. Give us a schedule for Sunday.
Okay, so we have two games in the NFC on Sunday. That Chiefs game is the nightcap on Sunday Night Football.
Gotcha.
Two games on Sunday, one game on Monday. The Philadelphia Eagles and Tampa Bay Bucks are the noon game. The Bucks are getting 9 points right now. The total sits at 49 and a half. The Niners and Cowboys are the 3:30 afternoon game. Right now, Dallas is getting only -3 at home. So a pick 'em would be on a neutral site. That game total is the highest on the entire weekend at 50 and a half. Then obviously the Steelers and Chiefs games later. Monday Night Football is the Cardinals and Rams. Third time facing them this season. 4.5 points to the Rams, 50 total. So, yeah, I mean, let's start with Tampa and the Eagles. This is kind of what I thought the Steelers Chiefs line should be. I think 9 points is
Yeah.
fair. I also think that as an Eagles fan, you should be very confident in your team to at least make things extremely competitive within one score and give your team a shot. The Bucks, they lost Cyril Grayson yesterday, who again I rostered. So it's been a really rough couple weeks for me and the Bucks. We don't have a good relationship right now.
Yeah.
But Mike Evans is still hobbled a little bit, even though he did play almost the entire game. Keyshawn Vaughn looked all right. They used Lev Bell in a lot of other sets as well. They should be getting back Fournette, and I don't know if Godwin's coming back this year.
Godwin's not coming back, I'm pretty sure, but I can look that
Okay.
up for you.
I think that they are getting Fournette back,
They
and I
are.
think that they're getting some safety pieces back and some defensive pieces. So, going to be tough for Jalen Hurts. It's going to be his toughest test of the year, obviously. And I think that giving him the week off last week was a smart move. I don't know why they took so long to do it, but again, I'm not the coach. So, the Eagles, as long as they come back in with at least some sort of depth and health, their offensive line is what I'm worried about. And I knew that they were missing 3 out of 5 of them last week, and I think that they chose to sit them for going to be a key there. Running back depth is going to be a key there for the Eagles, and I think Goddard should be able to come back too, if I'm not mistaken. So like these teams should be getting healthier. I think Tampa Bay -9 is accurate, but Philly, if some of those guys are healthy, can definitely get this thing to within a touchdown.
I think that Eagles give this team a real run for their money because without Godwin, if you put Darius Slay on Mike Evans, like that kind of takes that away. So obviously Gronk, I think Gronk's going to tear apart this poor Eagles team.
He will be the best tight end play on the week for sure.
I mean, he could very easily have 150 yards here with 2 touchdowns. I think, and it's a good play. I think that it's really solid at the end of the day. I'm going to be very curious to see if Fournette's back. I think that's important. Godwin's not coming back. Godwin tore his ACL. I can't believe I forgot that he tore his ACL. So there's no chance that he comes back for this game.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I think that the Eagles end up being really competitive in this game. So I really don't mind Eagles +9 as well. I think underdogs in both of these top games are going to be really fun to watch. Let's talk about the Cowboys and 49ers because even as a Niners fan, I was a little surprised to see us get only three, or have it so close at the end of the day. Like 3 points seems like a little too not. It seems like not enough for this Cowboys team because they've been very good. They're at home. I don't know. I could see this being a really tough matchup for the Niners, but they impressed against the Rams, so maybe they can get the job done here.
This should be a very, very competitive game. I expected to shoot out kind of like yesterday did.
Yep.
Dallas, they took almost 4 quarters to pull away from the Eagles without any starters, which was definitely something interesting to see. I knew they were driving the ball, they were making plays, and that's all well and good. But like Zeke's been rough, and I think that the Cowboys can take care, or I think the Niners can take care of Zeke. And I don't know. I don't think Pollard's going to be anywhere close to 100%. You lost Michael Gallup for the year. I mean, obviously Cedric Wilson's like a. I think Cedric Wilson honestly could surpass Michael Gallup on the depth chart before the season anyway. But they are kind of down a little bit, and I think that they could have used last week to rest some of their players, and they might regret that. But I think the Niners can come in. They've shown that they can be a road team and play competitively and even win out on the road. Obviously, Dallas will have home field advantage here, and that's probably the main thing. I guess how good is their defense going to be this week? And I don't want to say this because I don't think we should be using this to influence any decisions, but they're dealing with some COVID stuff right now. Dallas is, so
No.
we'll see if they get their secondary pieces back. But um, I don't know how healthy is Debo right now. Is it just a one
I think
game stint thing?
I think he's fine. I think Debo's fine. I know he got injured a little bit at the end of that game, but I think that most likely he'll be okay for this one. And I mean that's what it comes down to. Like, can Debo is the reason for this team's offensive success, no matter how you put it. Like, whether you put him at running back, I know he got a passing touchdown to Jawan Jennings yesterday. So like, really having him in this offense, being fully healthy, is the most important thing for this 49ers team in the playoffs, because I think the defense will do their thing. We know this secondary hasn't been very good this year. We know they're relying on a lot of backups right now for that secondary, but really, just like in 2019, that front line, that defensive line is what really carries that defense, and they've been really solid. Bosa's, no one talks about Nick Bosa because everyone's more interested in the Micah Parsons, the Chase Youngs, the TJ Watts of the world, but Bosa had a really quiet, really impressive year just after tearing his ACL too. So I don't know. I feel pretty confident in this team overall. I think it'll be a really fun game, a really close game. I want to touch back on a comment you made because you said the Niners lucked out, and I tend to agree with you because if things work out perfectly, which not sure if they will, but if the Rams end up getting a win against the Cardinals, which I think is completely doable with how this Cardinals team has looked at the end of the year, then they get to face off against the Rams in the second round. And or no, well, it all depends on what happens in the Eagles game. But if the Eagles win, talk about why this Niners team ended up lucking out.
Yeah, I mean they don't have to face the Bucks.
Yeah,
That's
right. At the end of the
the
day.
Yeah, I mean that's the main point here. They also don't get a matchup with any of the NFC West teams. I think that the Cowboys, if you're picking any team, obviously I think we had this conversation in the NFL chat the other day or this weekend. I think that you'd want the Bucks, honestly, but I don't think that the Niners game plan can beat the Bucks. It's better. I think that Tom Brady's a little bit better in that role than Jimmy G is. So they're going to try to just butt heads the entire time, which I don't think would end up nice for you. But in terms of Dallas, I think that there's enough weakness in the Dallas skill players at the moment to where their offense is not as potent, and they've been dealing with some stuff on the defensive end, and they don't really play very many teams in their division or conference that continue to just pound the ball into their defense, and I think that that's where they lack a little bit. Obviously, getting back their front four has been amazing for them the last month, 2 months of the year. But I do think the Niners, if they continue to do the things that they're good at and not have to get into a shootout with Dallas, that's where they can have success.
All it comes down to is Jimmy G making mistakes, man. I've talked about it plenty of times. When he doesn't make mistakes, this team is damn near unbeatable at the end of the day. It's when he makes a stupid throw to Kittle or he tries to force the ball somewhere that he shouldn't. That's when this team really struggles. And it's going to be about mistake-free football for this Niners team. So if Jimmy
Yep.
G doesn't make mistakes, then they win this game. They move on to the Packers, a team that you remember we played you guys extremely close. Obviously, that was in San Fran, so going into Lambeau, a completely different scenario. You guys are probably a touchdown favorite in Lambeau, but I still think this Niners team. You face off against the Packers and possibly face off against an unhealthy Bucks team in the NFC Championship. If you're able to get past that Packers team, again, maybe outside of the I don't know. I think this Niners team has a really solid chance to make the Super Bowl, and maybe that's a little bit of fandom talking, but I do like where this Niners team is placed in this playoff race.
Yeah, I mean, based on seeding alone, it's definitely worth a shot too. I don't think that either Arizona, I don't feel confident in either Arizona or LA at this point.
Yeah,
You also have The only team that is a cold weather team outside of Green Bay is Philly in this NFC race, which makes me feel better about my chances as well. Um, like having the Cardinals or Rams or Tampa or all of these teams have domes, all of them
Yeah.
except for Tampa and Philly, which again, like I don't know, it's going to be a really weird situation. See how it plays out here, but we got to keep moving. Let's talk about Cardinals Rams one more time. I think
Yep.
that the Cardinals have been playing better on the road all season. Um, I just do think the Rams have a little bit more of an edge on them. Uh, Losing DeAndre Hopkins is awful for this Cardinals team, and James Conner looked good yesterday. But if they don't have him and Conner together, I don't think they can win. So if they're down to just one back, I think they become a lot more one dimensional, and I just don't think that they have the firepower to keep up with LA.
Yeah, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it's a detriment to this Rams team to play at home. Because, like you said, like
Yeah, that too.
it's pretty impossible for this Rams team to ever have a home field advantage necessarily. There's almost any team that is in the West is going to have a home field advantage at SoFi just because Rams just don't have enough of a fan base. So Cardinals, Arizona, they're definitely going to travel out there, and I bet it's exactly like that Niners game yesterday. It's going to be a really loud crowd, and not for the Rams. It's going to be a loud crowd for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't think that this game has ever stayed close this year either. Unless the last one did, but I don't think it was as competitive. Oh yeah, I mean, okay, the Rams Cardinals game was. I think the Rams kind of controlled that entire game, and Cardinals came back late. Yep. Okay, so this
Yep.
game has never stayed competitive throughout the entire season. So
Yep.
I guess we'll see who's going to come out here because the both road teams cash pretty easily.
We have 6 games for the wild card weekend. Give me your picks for each of these 6 games. Who you think is going to win just outright?
Okay, I will go with Bengals, Patriots, and Chiefs on the AFC side. So one upset there. And then Bucks. Uh, I think the Cowboys win by a field goal,
Oh,
but
hurt my
that's
heart.
that's being very conservative.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think the Rams win too. I think the favorites win.
Yeah, I can definitely see it happening. Give me Chiefs, Bills, and you know what? Give me the Raiders over the Bengals here. And I think I'll be a little bit different than you and say that the NFC gets a lot of upsets. Give me the Eagles, give me the Niners, and give me the Cardinals. I think all underdogs win in the NFC, which would I think I'm pretty contrarian there, but I definitely think all these teams have a really good chance.
I can buy the 49ers and Cardinals winning. I don't
Yeah,
think the
I
Eagles have
know.
enough firepower.
Yeah, you're probably right, but I have hope because if the Eagles win and we get to face the Cardinals again, I feel pretty good about our chances at the end of the day.
Oh yeah,
So
you definitely would. I mean, I'm giving the Eagles a shot. I just think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to Hurts and not making mistakes. So that's pretty
yeah,
much what has to happen there. Um, we're kind of running low on time, so let's just keep rolling. But
yeah.
we just got news, and this goes with our next thing here, that Dave Gettleman, GM from the Giants, has informed some people in the building that he's planning to retire. That came out about 10 minutes ago.
Wow.
Joe Judge not being one of those guys, the coaches that were fired on Black Monday. Surprise to you? Because it was to me.
Yeah, I mean, especially because I heard stuff about how like he was clearing out his office yesterday, and a whole bunch of rumors that were looking like he was going to get fired. And it's very surprising to see that he's not fired. I think the most interesting thing that came out this morning is Brian Flores fired from Miami. This is kind of a head scratcher for me at the very least. We all know he had a very bad start to the season, but when you end the season in the way that he did, this it was really impressive, at least to me, especially with Tua. Tua was not a great quarterback this year, in my opinion. So to
No,
lead this team to do what they did with Tua being at the helm, it was shocking. I'm truly floored by this firing. So maybe you can give me some reason why this makes any amount of sense.
I don't really know. They won 8 of their last 9 games. and maybe that's not enough to save your job. But it's kind of weird. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
a. I feel like it's an organizational structure thing. Maybe it's a mutual decision. Maybe he walked away because he can't deal with the internal headbutting that's going on. Like they've been surrounded in Deshaun Watson talks all season and nothing happened with it. And Tua didn't play half the year. Jacoby Brissett started during that 7 game losing streak, and they have no running backs. Their wide receivers continually get hurt. Like their defense stepped up in the last couple of months, but they have some serious. I don't know. Maybe they thought that Flores coming in, like I don't know. I think he did a pretty good job of turning things around for what he was given.
Yeah.
And when you're a star quarterback that you spent a first round pick on is just hurt the majority of his starts, then like what are you going to do with him? I don't know. You don't have a running game. You don't really have like now you have a reliable receiver, but like your weapons are just gone.
Yeah, I guess the thing that kind of like the one reason that I could come up with personally is maybe this Miami team has been pushing for Watson. I thought that it was because of just this ownership pushing to get Deshaun Watson at the end of the day, but and Flores kept saying that Tua's our guy. We're not getting off of Tua, and then at the end of the season, we just got news that Flores was the driving force for Miami in getting Watson. So like if he was that driving force, then I don't know, man. It's a really I think at the end of the day, winning 8 out of your last 9 is plenty of reason to stay as a head coach. I think wherever Flores goes, he's gonna shine. I know Kai and I were talking about it this morning in the NFL season pass chat. I think bringing him into a team like Carolina to be a DC would be absolutely insane with Carolina's young core.
Sure.
I think you could also Bacon brings up a great point, bringing him into Minnesota to replace Zimmer. I think that's a phenomenal idea too, because I do think that Minnesota team has some talent on the defensive side. If you put him in a good defense, that defense will be a top 5 defense next year. I'm calling my shot on that.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of calling this early, and then it didn't go our way
Yeah, seriously.
throughout the beginning of this year. But yeah, no, I mean, they lost a few key pieces early on, and they acquired some really good talent as well. And who knows what'll happen with them in the draft because they do get a lower or a higher draft pick this year with a strong defensive unit and coming out of college right now. So I think that can definitely take them into a top 10 consideration for sure. Other coaches fired: Bears Matt Nagy, Vikings fired Zimmer and the GM, and then Vic Fangio got fired immediately after they lost against the Chiefs. So I wasn't surprised in any of the other ones. Flores is definitely concerning though.
Yeah, Flores is certainly concerning. All right. Anything else with the NFL? We spent 50 minutes on NFL talks, but there was just so much to talk about from yesterday. There was so much to talk about the playoff picture being set. It was a good NFL conversation for sure.
Yep, and we're gonna have a lot more of them throughout the rest of the week.
Yeah, we are. It's going to be a good time for sure. Let's move on though, because we have plenty more to talk about today, and let's talk about the NBA because NBA was a lot of fun this weekend. Ended up going 3-1 over both sites, 1-1 on FanDuel, 2-0 on DraftKings, capping off the weekend with a win last night on both sites. Klay Thompson ended up returning. Last night was a lot of fun in the NBA. It was like an 8-game slate, which we're not used to seeing on Sundays, but I think all around the league you had a lot of stuff going on. So it was definitely a great slate for NBA members. And I don't know, just talk about it a little bit. Is there a certain game you want to talk about? Do you just want to talk about Clay's return? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, why would they put an 8 game slate on the biggest Sunday of football?
Yeah,
Maybe because they're preparing for today, but they even have like 7 games today during the college football championship. So I don't know. Maybe they had to squeeze a bunch of games into this day. It's
yeah,
definitely weird having 8 games. Um, yeah, the main thing that sticks out obviously is that Warriors game, but I guess the other thing would be that I think the biggest win on the day was the Grizzlies going up against the Lakers. Maybe you can argue the Mavs taking on the Bulls was definitely solid too, but yeah, big win for the Grizzlies the other day. Um, the only thing that I care about is Jaw's block from yesterday. That's really all I care about. Clay was awesome. The return was great. I'm just willing to see. I'm waiting to see what happens when how long it takes him to get back to full strength.
yeah. So I heard about this block, and I was too busy watching the Raiders game, so I didn't get to see this block. But do I need to go look this up right now, so I can get
Yeah,
a live reaction here?
Yeah,
Here,
just
let's
type
go.
in John Morant block and you'll find it
Yeah.
500 times over.
Uh, all right, here we go. So we'll have to see this. I'll react in just a moment. But yeah, I am impressed by that win by the. Oh my goodness gracious, that's insane. He got up there. It's crazy how high John Morant can jump. I think that is one of the most impressive things about this guy. That is just an insane blow. He has to be like, is that like, that ball has to be like 12 feet above the floor or
Yep,
something?
at
Like,
least.
at least that's insane. He could pull off the Dwight Howard Superman dunk when he had the dunk contest where he dunked on the 12-foot rim. I bet John Morant could pull that off.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where I wish we could see him in the dunk contest, but the NBA will never allow it.
No, no, they never will allow it. You're definitely right. Fatty McGee said then he almost hit his head on the rim on an alley oop. John Morant's a different type of player at the end of the day. All right, if you have nothing else on NBA, we really should talk about the big game of the day with the college football championship going on tonight.
Yeah, no, let's get it going.
Let's do it. Let's talk about the college football championship. We've been waiting for a week now, and we finally get this game. BetOnline has Georgia as the current favorite, 3-point favorites here, with Bama being the underdog, over under at 52.5. We know how the first matchup went. We saw Alabama absolutely destroy this Georgia team. I mean, BetOnline obviously thinks this is going to go differently the second time around. So I've told you several times that I feel like this line is really trappy. I don't know what to think about it. I feel like probably a lot of money is coming in on Bama, but I just don't know where to place my thoughts on this necessarily quite yet. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts here. What do you think about this game and everything going on here?
I will still watch the whole thing, but I'm not as hyped as I was coming into things a couple weeks ago because I didn't want to get a rematch.
Yeah.
And I think that this is awesome for college football to get a rematch. But I think Alabama wins, not handedly, but they should control this game. And I don't know why they're underdogs in this spot.
Like I said, I just don't like every time I look at this spread, I just don't understand. Like it just like I
Doesn't make
said,
sense.
it feels really trappy, man. Like it feels really weird. So I agree with you. At the end of the day, this is the best thing for college football to have an SEC matchup in the playoffs in the final game because if Michigan or Cincinnati somehow advanced to face off against either Georgia or Bama, like it would have been a really boring game at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, these are the two best teams in the nation, and I don't know. I mean, again, I just don't see why. Like the storyline, if you look at it from, don't put any numbers associated with it at all. I don't understand how you could ever rank Georgia as a favorite over Nick Saban and Bama. I just don't
Um,
understand it. So, again, you look at strength of schedule. You can always look there. I know Alabama lost, um, the game they probably shouldn't have lost, but I just think that the schedules are completely different. And Georgia, while they definitely destroyed Michigan. I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be a rematch, and while it may be closer than the first one was, I still think Alabama will control the game.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Alabama wins here, but again, like I said, extremely trappy. Bacon said, would you take 2.5 points or plus 110 for Bama here?
Oh, you take the plus money. Yeah,
Yeah, I
is
think so
like,
too.
I mean, do you really want to sweat out a 2 point spread, or do you want to just bet them outright?
Yeah. Plus 127 over at BOL. So I don't
Yeah,
know what
the
odds you're
odds are
looking at,
better
Big.
as well, right?
Yeah.
So like you're either getting plus 110 or you're getting plus 120 plus, right? So
Yeah.
I jump on it now because I do think that this spread comes closer as the game gets closer here.
I'm really curious to see what volume looks like on this game. I don't know. Has BetOnline posted anything about volume on bets? Because
Mm.
I would like to see what side the public is on, because I do feel like it's probably on Bama. But if this line hasn't moved, like we haven't seen any movement on the 3-point spread, and these odds have been up for a week plus now.
Yes, no actual numbers posted yet. We got confirmation again that the Raiders were planning to play for the tie until that timeout.
Yes, I saw that. That's that's insane, man. And like Herbert saying that Herbert saying that he wanted it's the most I've ever wanted a tie in my life. That it was a crazy game for sure. I'm trying to see if maybe we have any type of posting about what this volume might look like, but I don't know. We don't right now, so I'm sure we'll update it once we get it. But it should be really interesting to see what the volume looks like in this game.
Yep. Also got the news that Joe Judge is staying with the Giants.
Wow. I don't know. I feel like that's a mistake. We've talked about Joe Judge a lot on this stream, and I feel like his coaching style is just so outdated at the end of the day. Like we talked about it, I think, when they were in training camp, how he made his players run and stuff, and it seemed very high school football esque. And I just don't think that's going to fly in today's NFL.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else here for the college football championship? I'm curious. Does BetOnline have any odds boosters up or anything?
The odds boosters are coming, but I have some game props that were certainly interesting. They don't go as hard than the Super Bowl, but there's still something to look at. Here's a few odds boosters for this. We have a Brian Robinson first TD of the game was plus 750, and now it's plus 850. The first score of the game is a field goal. It was plus 150, now is plus 175. Williams and Bowers score touchdowns. That was plus 220 and now is plus 260. So not too many, but those are what's up there right now. And then as far as there's an actual tab. If you go to football and then you go to NCAAF game props, there's a whole section to bet on some random things like margin of victory. If you think Alabama wins and you think they do it by more than a touchdown, you can bet them Alabama 7 to 12 points, and that would pay out plus 525. You can get Donovan Mitchell points versus Detroit or Bryce Young completions head to head, whatever you think is better. Let's see. Kevin Durant assists versus Portland versus Jameson Williams receptions. Durant's actually got the juice there.
Yeah. So I
Uh,
love these cross sports props. I think they're
yeah, it's
really fun
great.
to look at.
It's great. You can get game MVP. Right now, Bryce Young's the clear one, plus 180. Obviously, if Georgia wins, I think they'd give it to Bennett at plus 200. If you can go first score of the game, you can pick which team scores that. Highest scoring half. Wow, they have the first half being a higher scoring half. Usually it's always the second half. Highest scoring quarter, largest lead in the game. Like you can do whatever you want here. I guess let's just pick our favorite and then go from
Ooh.
there. You got a few of these too these are the ones that I always love from BetOnline is like whose name is said first, Nick Saban or Kirby Smart. Like I think it's Saban, but you never really know. Like you never
Yeah.
really know on any of those. Not as fun as the Super Bowl, but these are definitely some fun things to do. Will someone other than a QB throw a pass is plus 350. So if you think that they run any type of reverses or anything, that's plus 350 would be the prop there.
Man, give me that. Give me will someone other than the QB throw a pass. We saw Georgia do it in the semifinals, and we haven't seen Bama do it yet. So you don't even have to have them complete the pass. They just have to throw it. Like give me yes
Yep.
plus 350 here.
Uh,
Yeah, I
This is
like that
awesome.
bet.
Maybe we'll throw some stuff together here and see if BetOnline can help us out with any of these because
Ooh.
I uh I think that some of these are pretty juicy. Will the final game margin be 10 plus points? Is an interesting one. I think that could be very true as well. Will either team score 50 points? That's probably a no, but again, we've seen worse.
Well,
Will either
either team.
team?
Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think we got the same one.
Yeah,
Wow, the rushing one
yeah.
because that one's really interesting
Especially with how much Georgia runs the ball, dude. I think that might be a yes as well. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of fun bets here, and I think, like you said, hopefully we can talk to Bet Online and have them put something together for us.
for sure. All right. Well, I think we can probably call that a day for college
Oh,
football.
oh yeah.
But we have some more stuff to go here. I actually don't know what I bet on Friday, so I'm going to take a look and see if I can remember that.
I don't even remember what I bet on Friday. So look back, see if we can find what we bet on Friday. But we obviously have NHL blind bets, blind dogs, because this is an NHL show at the end of the day. Look, we keep going on with our New Year's resolution. We got news on the show today about Joe Judge, and we're still making it an NHL show. You'll love to see it.
Yeah, I ended the week 2-3,
Oh,
starting
no.
hot 2-0, and then I lost the last three. I picked the Flames, and they lost 6-3. I don't know who the actual underdog was, but the Capitals lost to the Blues 5-1.
I
So I
bet on the
think
Blues. I remember I bet on the Blues. I'm pretty
okay.
sure. I don't know.
So
Anthony can.
I think we're both 2-3, or at least, well, you're one bet behind me, but
Yeah.
I think you're 2-2 or something like that.
Yeah, maybe Anthony can help us out here and double check for me, but I'm pretty sure I bet on the Blues. So 2-2, you 2-3. You had a big dog bet at the end of the day. Members are probably profitable because you had a few dog bets there that ended up winning. So
Well,
uh,
yeah, our whole thing is here we're playing dogs, so like you're gonna be up
yeah,
if you have a losing week. Like as long as you win two, you're gonna be good. I
exactly.
also bet on the Steelers heavy last week, which has helped me out tremendously since then.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah, there was no way they were losing that game with Big Ben at quarterback for the last
Yep.
Heinz game. No shot. All right, there's three games today: Bruins, Capitals, Rangers, Kings, Kraken, and Avalanche. What are we gonna do here? I'm just pulling it up right now, so I haven't seen it at all.
Man, I was looking at this. I mean, obviously it's blind dog, so you guys know what's going on here, but I think the Capitals get the win at home. Home dogs plus or minus 101. Give me the Capitals to get the win here.
All right, I'll go Rangers plus 102.
Yeah, I like it against the goal or against the Kings. Definitely. I mean, I say I like it. I have no clue. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully, we can do better than we did last week. You know, the goal is improvement. So let's get a win here for sure. Jared, we are done. We've been here for an hour. It's been a lot of fun talking to you guys about sports, and we greatly appreciate you coming to hang out. Shout out to our sponsors, the people that present this show to you, betonline.ag. We greatly appreciate them. Look, we talked about all those props. Where do you go find those props? Find them on betonline.ag. If you scroll up a little bit in the chat, you can see Nightbot has a link posted. Yes, it's way up in the chat where people are talking about Jamar Chase and we're talking about Carr being underrated, but there is a link there, and if you click that link, you deposit $55, you get a little bonus sprinkled on as well. It's even better than the bonus that they're offering right now for the college football championship. So make sure to go sign up if you haven't already. They are by far, in my opinion, the best sports book out there. Whether or not they were sponsoring us, I would be saying that because I truly do love all the player props they give you, all the odds boosters they give you. They set themselves apart from the rest of the industry, in my opinion.
That they do, and tonight's one of the best nights to bet on some sports. So I will be going on record and saying that my underdog play of that game, Alabama money line, they're winning tonight.
Yeah, I like it, man. I think it's solid. I can't do it because I just been saying from the rooftops this is too chalky or not too chalky, too trappy in my opinion. So I'm gonna go somewhere else, and I'm actually as scary as it is. I'm gonna go bet on the NBA, and I'm taking the Kings to get the win plus 180 here. I think they looked good last night, and with De'Aaron Fox being healthy, this Cavs team not being so healthy, I think they can get the job done at home and Cavs have to travel a lot. Like I like this bet actually. I saw this before we got on the show, and I thought it was solid. So Kings plus 180 money line. I'll take it. That's it. That's the end of the show. Thank you all for hanging out. Jared, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, wild week of sports. Don't not watch this game tonight.
Yes, seriously. Make sure to watch this game. We have UFC returning on Saturday that I'm super excited about, and we have a few announcements coming for Roto Radar too, including launching the UFC package for the year. Some things that we're going to be doing next week that are a lot of fun. I am very excited, and I know Jared is too. So make sure to stay tuned in to Roto Radar. Make sure to come join us on the morning after show tomorrow. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer. Good morning and good skill.